Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. I'm using a random number generator and a spreadsheet to create a card. So get comfy and let's get crafty. Okay, the brand today was Greeting Farms. So I'm using this Greeting Farms stamp. It is called Old Baby, I think, or Baby Laundry. It's called Baby Laundry. And the product is stamped because that's all I have from Greeting Farm. The technique was foiling. So we're going to use some foiling transfer gel and some deco foil. The color palette came from the Sarah Renee Clark Color Cube Box 1. I'm using card number 10. And the theme is New Baby, which is perfect because two of my sisters are having babies this year. And the extra was sequins. So I found a sequin mix that has these same colors in it. The foiling transfer gel needs to be done first because it needs at least or about an hour to dry. So I've grabbed my Simon Says Stamp Craft Tack Positively Perfect Craft Tacky Mat. There we go. All of those words. And I'm putting this down on my work surface and I'm going to adhere a piece of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 80-pound cardstock to it. And then I am going to line up this stencil. This is a Pink Fresh Studio stencil. It's called Argyle. It is a layering stencil. And I am going to it's not going to take up the whole card. It's meant for a slimline card. So I accidentally cut out the part of the footage where I smeared all of that deco foil on, but I smeared it on with that green catalyst tool. And then I went and put the stencil and everything in the sink so that it didn't set. Now we are going to do some stamping. I have another piece of Neenah cardstock. I'm making a landscape style card and we're going to stamp out this laundry line and some of the laundry items from this stamp set. Now, I should have known, because I've used this before to make a card, that you got to stamp the things on the clothesline first and then stamp the clothesline, but I didn't. So I stamped the line and then I put all the little thingies that I wanted to have hanging off the line. And yeah, I had to start over. So I chose a dress, I chose a little romper sleeper, and then I chose the bunny and 2 socks. And this stamp set is super cute because it also has a clothespin stamp. So you can stamp the little clothespins that attach things to the laundry line. So here I've got this all lined up exactly how I want it. And I'm going to go ahead and use my Misty lid to pick all of those stamps up, ink them up with Honeybee Stamps Intense Black ink because we will be Copic marker coloring. And I stamped this down and realized, well, look at that. None of them are on that line. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to stamp all of the clothing items first. And then I will go back in and add the clothesline part. And even still, it doesn't line up exactly or perfectly. And part of that is because it's a really thin stamp. And part of it's because, well, it is. But I have clothespins. So I'm using a stamp block for the clothespins instead of just moving it around on my Misty lid. So I've picked up this little clothespin stamp and my stamp block, and I'm just adding the clothespins to the items hanging off the laundry line. And now it is coloring time. I will tell you, it took longer to find Copic color blends to match this card than it took to color this card. Part of that was because these are quite muted colors, and there's not a lot of muted pinks in Copic markers. And I tried muting them down with my neutrals or my toner grays, even my warm grays, and they just didn't quite. So it took a little longer to get the color combinations than it did to create the card itself. And I have sped this up like super fast time. So I colored this dress pink. I'm going to add this kind of camel color to the collar and the pockets. I didn't really need 3 color blends for all these things. I mean, goodness sakes, I used a 3 color blend on those socks. I really could have used just a 2 color blend, and it would have been easier to find all of the colors if I had done that, to be honest. But if I'm not doing all the things, am I even doing anything? Let's just be honest. So I'm going to color this first sock green and camel. Then I'm going to color the bunny camel, but I'm putting pink. Wow, words are hard. Pink on the inside of the ear and pink on the belly. And I'm just going through and adding some shadows and blending it all out. For the camels, I used the E5s, E51, E53, E55. And I will have a picture of my color combinations over on the blog, which will be linked in the information box down below. Now this color combination had a lighter and a darker purple and a lighter and a darker green. And also I could have saved myself some headache if I had just picked one of the pinks and one of the greens. But no, again, I had to do all of the things and use all 5 colors on this color card. It's not a requirement. It's just because my brain is, well, it's crazy. So fun story. My kids have been on spring break the last week. They go back to school on the 1st. So before you see this card. And my third daughter, who teaches 3rd grade in Utah, is coming home, and her and me and my mama are going to New York. So I may or may not have videos this week. We'll see how much I get done before it's time to leave. We are taking the Amtrak from Virginia, and we're going to hang out in New York for a few days. Okay, all the coloring is just about done. This little jumper I did in the darker green and then added the darker pink as the details on the cuffs and the collar and the buttons. And now it's time to do the foiling. So I have this Argyle pattern dry on this piece of cardstock, and I just have scraps of this foil. It is a deco foil. It's kind of a champagne-y, kind of not quite gold, not quite pink gold, rose gold, but I have scraps of this. And I'm just going to put them on the plates to my impress machine, and I ran it through twice and it still needed a little more pressure. So I added that shim. There were a few places where it didn't really stick, and I think that's more because of the lack of transfer gel. I think I cleaned off my scraper too well. So once I had that all peeled off, I'm going to use the MFT wonky stitched rectangle dies to cut this out and make it smaller. Because the Argyle dies are a slimline die, I'm going to have to trim this panel down as well. But before I do that, I want to add the second layer, and I'm going to go ahead and tape this down to my work surface and tape the stencil down. And then I'm going to use a Concord & 9th ink cube and a green or a blending brush and blend in the other part of this pattern in green. Of course I chose green because I love green. Green is my best friend. I kid you not that from the end of February until today, I wore something green on my body every single day. I love green. We're going to go ahead and trim this panel down to 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. And then we're going to turn it into a landscape card. So those measurements are the opposite. And we're going to cover up the parts of that foiling that didn't really work very well. And in truth, there's not a ton of foiling visible on the card, but enough for it to be cool. Green card base. This is a dark green, Everglade. I don't know. It's a dark green card base. And I'm going to layer the foiled piece down and the colored piece on top of that. I'm going to stamp the sentiment first. I'm just going to use this Oh Baby stamp that is in the stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it in Versamark ink with my Misty. And then I am going to cover it. That's the word I was looking for. Wow, words are hard today. Cover it in a rose gold embossing powder from Simon Says Stamp. I did not look to see, I did not link that, but I'm pretty sure it is still available. Like I've purchased this pot within the last 6 months. So it's rose gold embossing powder. And it is my favorite rose gold. The Simon Says one is my favorite rose gold. So once I have that all dumped off, I realized I forgot to use my anti-static powder tool. So it did require a little bit of cleanup. And then of course I hit something with my brush that I shouldn't have. But eventually we got there. We got it all cleaned up. We left all the powder where it was supposed to be, and we went ahead and heat set that with my heat tool. I just have an old Wagner one. I think I got it. From Simon Says. Heck, I may have got it from Amazon. I don't know. Okay, we're going to use my double-sided tape, my ATG for this. I thought about putting foam tape behind the colored panel, but because I stamped on both sides, I was worried about that black bleeding through if any light got underneath it. So we're just going to go ahead and add that on with double-sided adhesive as well. Just eyeball centering that because I already tried math once this week and it did not work well for me. So we're just eyeball centering that. Now we are going to go ahead and add our sequins. I'm going to put 2 groups of sequins on this card. I'm using a light pink, a dark pink, and a green in the top left corner. And then I'm going to use a pink and a green in the bottom right corner. So 2 groups that make an odd number of sequins because yay, it works that way. I'm going to go ahead and pick them all up with my sticky stick. What is this thing called? My jewel picker. There we go. It's my Marvy jewel picker. Gosh, you guys, words are hard today. My glue was a little bit of a hard time getting the glue out. And I don't know if that's because this bottle is nearly empty or if the nozzle is finally getting clogged. I do have a refill bottle, so I'm going to go ahead and fill it back up and see if that is the problem. But also while I'm doing that, I will take the nozzle out and make sure there's nothing stuck down in there. Last step is to add a piece of white copy paper to the inside of my card, and then it is all finished. For real, I think that it took longer to find the Copic markers than it did to make the entire card, but that's another story for another day. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this card. I have a couple of other videos here I think you would like. I have also added that subscribe button. You know you want to subscribe, or I hope you want to subscribe, so please do. Leave me a comment down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a really fabulous day.